Hello everyone, welcome back. In this session, I will talk about another sustainable tourism case, sustainable tourism in Bhutan. The tourism market in Bhutan is considered sustainable in nature, guided by the principles of gross national happiness. The country has been consistently nurturing the tourism sector as an important source of government revenue through well-laid plans and clearly defined policy objectives. There are some unique principles and approaches in the governance of tourism that countries around the world can learn from. The topics for today contain these 5 areas. Geography and background of Bhutan. The concept of GNP, gross national happiness. Tourism in Bhutan. The impacts of tourism. And sustainable tourism strategies. Bhutan, officially known as the Kingdom of Bhutan, is a landlocked country in the eastern Himalayas in South Asia. It is bordered by the Tibet Autonomous Region of China to the north and India to the south. Bhutan is the region's second least populous nation after the Maldives. Thimphu is its capital and the largest city, while Phunts Holing is its financial center. Slightly larger than Switzerland in terms of area, but with a population of around 700,000 compared to almost 8 meters people in Switzerland. The House of Wangchuck is the royal house of Bhutan since it was reunified in 1907. The Wangchuck dynasty ruled government power in Bhutan and established relations with the British Empire and India under its first 2 monarchs. The 3rd, 4th, and 5th current monarchs have put the kingdom on its path toward democratization, decentralization, and development. The current king is Jigme Khasar Namgyel Wangchuck, queen is Jetsun Pema. Bhutan displays a rich heritage and vibrant culture. The people are of Mongoloid origin, with distinct and unique traditional and cultural customs. The clothes, religion, culture, traditions, festivals and its pristine environment mingle to provide a unique cultural setting in the Himalayas and the last bastion of the Mahayana form of Buddhist civilization. The emblem of Bhutan maintains several elements of the flag of Bhutan and contains much Buddhist symbolism. Bhutan has 3 ethnic groups, the Shanglas, Nagalops and the Lhotshampas. Bhutanese society is free of class or a caste system. It has 4 main religions: Buddhism, Hinduism, Animism, and Christianity. Ngultram is the locally and officially accepted currency of Bhutan. It is used for all economic trades at a professional level and a local level as well. Bhutan's political environment has been stable and economic conditions had been improving until the advent of the pandemic. Over the last decade, the government has been able to reduce the number of extremely poor by 2/3. Bhutan has become a lower middle-income country. Annual real GDP growth has averaged 7.5% since the 1980s, fueled by a rapid expansion of the public sector-led hydropower production and export. Bhutan's economy is closely aligned with India's through strong trade and monetary links and dependence on India's financial assistance. The economy of Bhutan is based on agriculture and forestry. Straddling the 2 major Indo-Malayan and Palearctic biogeographic realms, Bhutan is part of the Eastern Himalayan biodiversity hotspot. The diverse ecosystems and ecofloristic zones have made Bhutan home to a wide array of flora and fauna. Forests are the dominant ecosystem in Bhutan, with 70.46% of the country under forest cover and an additional 10.43% under shrubs. Bhutan is the first carbon-negative country in the world. Carbon dioxide is the leading greenhouse gas emission produced by humans, thus contributing most dramatically to worldwide climate change. Carbon neutral, negative means that more carbon dioxide is absorbed than is produced. Bhutan achieved this through many policies, including a ban was placed on log exports. The constitution was amended to include that forested areas would not drop below 60%. Free hydroelectric power generated by Bhutan's many rivers is used instead of less environmentally friendly fossil fuels. The Bhutanese government has acted to increase the country's hydroelectric capacity, thereby reducing the need to burn fossil fuels. Some of Bhutan's hydroelectricity is exported to neighboring India. Free electricity is provided to rural farmers. Invest in clean and energy-efficient technologies, such as subsidizing the rates for LED lights and electrical public transportation. It has also promoted the sale of electric cars by lowering rates on the purchase of such vehicles. The Bhutanese people have responded favorably to this policy, in part by planting new trees themselves at a rapid pace. In fact, the reason that Bhutan has managed to become carbon negative is that although the country emits 1.1 million tons of CO2 each year, the forests can take in much more CO2 than all of Bhutan produces. Instead of using conventional economic indicators like GDP to measure its success, Bhutan has a unique measure of its own that they call Gross National Happiness (GNH). This concept was the brainchild of Bhutanese King Jigme Singye Wangchuk. In 1972, the king declared that gross national happiness is more important than gross domestic product. By this principle, Bhutan's government strives to improve the well-being of its citizens not just from an economic perspective but also from an environmental and socio-cultural viewpoint. The concept implies that sustainable development should take a holistic approach towards notions of progress and give equal importance to non-economic aspects of well-being. Since then, the idea of gross national happiness (GNH) has influenced Bhutan's economic and social policy, and also captured the imagination of others far beyond its borders. The GNH does include conventional measures of development such as living standards, health, and education, but it also includes less conventional measures, such as psychological well-being, time use, cultural diversity and resilience, good governance, community vitality, and ecological diversity and resilience. These are the pillars of GNH. A comparison between the growth of per capita GDP in Bhutan and the Gross National Happiness Index for these 3 years looks like this. Bhutan is regarded as one of the most exclusive travel destinations in the world. Today, tourism is a vibrant business with a high potential for growth and further development. It is famous for its exotic landscape, Buddhist cultural spots, spectacular mountains and fresh nature. Every type of travelers from nature lovers to pilgrims loves this place and considers this as an important getaway spot. The top 5 tourist attractions in Bhutan, which you ought to visit during your stay in Bhutan. The tourism industry in Bhutan is relatively young, having been initiated only in 1974 at the time of the coronation of the 4th king. The industry was privatized towards the end of 1991. The government took up the facilitating and regulatory role with the establishment of the Tourism Authority of Bhutan (TAB). In 2008, realizing the importance of a multi-sectoral approach towards tourism development, the Department of Tourism was granted autonomy under the chairmanship of the Prime Minister and renamed as the Tourism Council of Bhutan, responsible for the development, promotion, service, quality assurance and regulation of tourism in the country. Bhutan recorded continued growth in the last 7 years with record arrivals, although the growth rate declined in 2017 and 2018. A total of 315,599 inbound visitors were recorded in 2019, representing a growth of 15.14% over 2018. Visitor arrivals crossed the 200,000 mark in 2016. Bhutan recorded a total of 29,812 visitors in 2020, which is a minus 90.55% drop compared to the previous high of 315,599 in 2019, mainly on account of the coronavirus pandemic. The tourism income was an important source of revenue for Bhutan because it contributed about 50% of the national tax revenue, and the inbound tourism expenditure is about 4% of national GDP and employs about 50,000 employees in the tourism sector. Tourism also created self-employment and provided additional income for rural communities through the selling of local produces and handicrafts to tourists. An increase of tourists in rural areas benefited rural communities through working as local guides, hiring porta pony services, and providing cultural performances to tourists. The coronavirus pandemic has created and continues to create unprecedented impacts on the economy and livelihoods in the country and around the world. The top 10 source markets for Bhutan 2020 are the USA, China, UK, Germany, Australia, Vietnam, Japan, Thailand, Singapore, and Malaysia. About 87% of all visitor arrivals to Bhutan have undertaken some form of cultural sightseeing activity during their stay in Bhutan, highlighting the importance and significance of the Bhutanese culture and tradition for tourism. There was a fairly good number of visitors who undertook other activities such as trekking, hikes, and special interest tours such as birding, textile tours, wellness and meditation, and adventure sports such as rafting and cycling. With regard to the modes of transport used while in Bhutan, the majority, 70.57%, of the visitors reported that they have used vehicles arranged by travel agents, indicating that an increasing number of visitors are using travel agent services. This was followed by transport arranged by their friends and relatives, 17.28%, and there was little over 10% who have rented vehicles. Tourists can attend a large variety of activities in Bhutan, including cultural and adventure events, spiritual and wellness activities, sport and business activities. Travelers to Bhutan must be with an approved tour operator who will arrange all travel while in the country and arrive via Druk Air, which offers a limited number of flights from a handful of cities in Asia. Tourists need a passport and visa to enter and exit Bhutan. All visas are approved from Thimphu and are only issued to tourists booked with a locally licensed tour operator, either directly or through a foreign travel agent. Applications for tourist visas are submitted by the tour operator. The cost of the Bhutan visa itself is $40 per person. This is a non-refundable fee. However, in addition to the visa fee, you also have to pay for the tour. The Bhutan Tourism Council has a fixed minimum daily package rate, MDPR, for all tours to Bhutan. $250 a day per person during peak season. $200 a day per person at other times of the year. The daily tariff involves the most necessary expenses during a trip, including a 3-star hotel, all meals, a licensed Bhutanese tour guide, internal transportation, and equipment for treks. In addition, $65 from this daily tariff is considered sustainable tourism royalty, which is used towards the country's free health care and education, poverty alleviation, as well as the building of tourism infrastructure. Bhutan has one international airport, Paro, and 2 airlines, government-owned Druk Air, and private airline Bhutan Airlines, a division of the Tashi Group. The Druk Air and Bhutan Airlines schedules change by season, but there are usually daily flights from Kathmandu, New Delhi and Bangkok, and less frequent flights to Bagdogra and Kolkata, Calcutta in India, Dhaka in Bangladesh, and Singapore. Hotels are licensed by the government, run by Bhutanese, or at least on representative. A wide variety of accommodation is available, ranging from luxurious 5-star hotels to cozy little hotels and homestays in traditional Bhutanese homes and settings. The tourism industry in Bhutan is founded on the principle of sustainability, meaning that tourism must be environmentally and ecologically friendly, socially and culturally acceptable, and economically viable. In recent times, Bhutan tourism is being hit by rough waves. These emerging rough waves, if not maneuvered well and in time, could be a potential threat to the exclusive journey of Bhutan tourism. Today, because of the influx of regional tourists from countries within the South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation, SAARC, Bhutan's historic vision of limiting tourist entry to a sustainable level no longer holds true. The country is increasingly popular for tourists who do not need entry visas and are not limited by air access or government-imposed tariffs. In 2018, more than 200,000 predominantly Indian tourists entered the country. That number will only increase unless the government imposes similarly strict restrictions as enforced by the government tariffs on international tourists in the 1980s. Bhutan only needs to look at Nepal for a clear example of the challenging impact of high-volume tourism on cultural tapestry, environment, architecture, economy and political infrastructure. Even though tourism is under strict control, there are still some negative impacts that emerged. For example, along the tourists' trekking route, there was forest destruction through the cutting of slow-growing trees for firewood, soil erosion through the use of horses and yaks for tracking tourists, and garbage trail of non-biodegradable waste. Tourism is the largest contributor to foreign currency in Bhutan. Tourism created self-employment and provided additional income for rural communities through the selling of local produces and handicrafts to tourists. Rural communities involve in tourism through working as local guides, hiring porter pony services and providing cultural performances to tourists. However, the negative aspect is there is a relatively small number of tourists' arrivals in comparison to other same countries such as the Maldives, generated significant economic contribution given the high cost of the daily tariff. It has regularly fueled double-digit percentage growth in government. Foreign tour companies use Bhutanese tour licenses to run their business in Bhutan, leading to economic leakage and tax avoidance. The hotel industry is also facing the same problem, leading to revenue leakage. Socio-culturally, Bhutan has achieved significant success in protecting and preserving traditional cultural practices and uncovering latent ones. Pride in cultural identity. Improved community facilities, footbridges, roads. Improved standards of living. Increased education and training, literacy rate, 64.9%. On the other hand, there are also many of the problems that have emerged in tourist destinations with mass tourism, begging, theft, sex tourism, which are not evident in Bhutan. Some negative evidence exists of religious and cultural practices being monetized or changed to attract tourist dollars as an emerging sense of materialism develops. Crime and antisocial behavior. Demonstration effect. Displacement. Friction between locals involved with tourism and those not. Rapid urbanization, increasing materialism. Wrong business practices of undercutting, fronting, and bad debts are on the rise. Poor services, an unbalanced spread of tourism benefits, an oversupply of hotels, low-yield mass tourism, overcrowding at tourist sites, and uncontrolled littering are some disturbing trends that are emerging. With nearly 275,000 visitors in 2018, of which 202,290 are from the region, Bhutan is feeling the tensions of heavy tourist traffic and unpleasant experiences as tourists and pilgrims jostle for space in small spiritual sites. There are stories of tourists climbing on the monks' seats at monasteries to take selfies. Some walk around chortens, stupas, in the wrong direction. All this frustrates Bhutanese pilgrims and Buddhist practitioners. Regional tourists like to talk loudly and blast their music, and the Takshung Trail has become like a fish market, from the base camp right up to the top doorstep, said a tour operator, Kencho. With the population in the capital Thimphu being about 120,000, it is easy to see how the numbers of tourist arrivals can easily tip the balance of the local population and burden daily facilities and services and the environment. The onslaught of mass tourism, coupled with rapid urbanization, is also challenging the country's carbon footprint. Trekking represents the biggest threat to Bhutan's environment. Most trekking activities take place at altitudes ranging from 1,500 meters to 7,500 meters above sea level. Forms of environmental degradation are inevitable as the intensity of trekking increases. 13 trekking routes are currently in use, most of which are situated in the northwestern region. There were forest destruction through the cutting of slow-growing trees for firewood, soil erosion through the use of horses and yaks for trekking tourists. Garbage trail of non-biodegradable waste lead to deforestation, trail erosion, contamination of water, and solid waste problems. The tourism industry in Bhutan is founded on the principle of sustainability, meaning that tourism must be environmentally and ecologically friendly, socially and culturally acceptable in. Together with increasing consumption and materialism, Bhutan is aware that it could very well lose its carbon negative claim by 2030. Policymakers and people who are calling for action on the ground are pressured to figure out better regulations to improve services and facilities and to protect the sanctity of sacred and scenic sites. Over the years, brand Bhutan continued to collect laurels and distinctions such as being the only carbon-negative country in the world. Specifically, in tourism. Bhutan was recognized as the best country to visit in 2020 by Lonely Planet, Best Travel Destination for Happy Tourism in 2020 by Pacific Area Travel Writers Association, PATWA. Number 1 Wellness Destination on the Rise in 2020 by Virtuoso, and Best Green Country by Travel and Leisure India and South Asia Travel Magazine in 2020. Despite recent developments regarding excessive regional tourism, Bhutan's tourism brand is still on the right side of this delicate balance between high value and low impact. Quick, corrective action targeted at the root sources of excessive regional tourism would go some way towards restoring the full measure of the magic of brand Bhutan. The policy of high value, low volume has been steering this exclusive journey of Bhutan tourism for nearly 5 decades. Today, with a new goal to further enrich the direction, the journey, and the destination, the Tourism Council of Bhutan (TCB) embraced taking tourism to the top as an organizational motto. Taking tourism to the top has 2 dimensions. Firstly, it is about making Bhutan the world's topmost tourist destination, and secondly, it is about making tourism the country's key economic sector. Other than the aforementioned tourist tariff structure including MDPR and SDF, Bhutan has some other tools to manage tourism sustainably. There are many travel businesses operating in Bhutan. The Tourism Council of Bhutan monitors each registered tour operator, hotel and travel agent to ensure that they meet our stringent requirements and provide guests with high-quality service using rating and certification schemes. Every tour guide or tour operator needs to have tour guide or tour operator license. Bhutanese farmers are mostly smallholder farmers practicing a mixed farming system involving cattle rearing and cultivation of crops. These farmers survive their daily meals completely on farming. There are few villages settled on the higher altitudes. These villages are usually 2-3 hours of walking distance from the motor roads. Promote and adopt low-carbon and sustainable consumption and production measures in tourism business operations. Today, tourism is concentrated mainly in the western, central region, covering mainly Paro, Punakha, Thimphu, Bumthang and Chukka. This will help in spreading tourism to other parts of the country. Bhutan's high-value, low-volume, and overarching long-standing tourism policy once again proves its value. It allows for the continuation of tourism to Bhutan post-COVID-19 without too many adjustments internally. Because mass tourism never was Bhutan's aim or approach. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to click the like button. Until next time.